Hello friends and welcome back to our homestead. Today is mid-November and we're expecting a pretty significant frost overnight tonight here in New England. It's supposed to go down to like mid-20s or so. So that is a significant frost, a significant drop in temperatures where I know some of my herbs will not survive this cold snap of weather. So I'm gonna go ahead today and I'm going to cut back on as many herbs as I want to preserve, including sage. So today I would like to talk to you about how I'm gonna prune my sage, how I'm going to overwinterize my sage to survive the winter, cold winter here in New England. All right, so here's a little confession time. I have attempted to grow sage for many years in the past. I have planted it against the house on the southern side, hoping that that will be enough. Nope, it froze. Then I have attempted, just planted it anywhere in the garden against big bushes, hoping that it's going to protect it. Nope, it froze. Then I have done by, when the plant is young and small, I would dig it out of the ground, put it in a pot and bring it in my greenhouse and overwinterize in a greenhouse. Now, the greenhouse still gets very, very cold. It's just as cold as outside because there's no heat there. But what I did was I put it in a small pot and then I brought it inside the cold frame in my greenhouse. And that helped to protect it. And then in the spring, I brought it back out and I planted it in a soil. Now, this year, I am going to attempt a different method. I've done some research and I found that you can protect sage to survive growing zone 5 and 6. That's where we are. We are 6A growing zone. It can survive the winter here in the ground if it's protected properly. So let me share with you how I'm going to trim it up to bring as many beautiful sage leaves in the house as possible. And I'll do a separate video about how I'm going to use it. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to protect it from the brittle New England cold. Here is my big, beautiful sage plant. And it has very woody stems. See, it's a bush and it's just sprawled out. But I started from a tiny, tiny little plant that I got. And now it's growing beautifully everywhere. So what I did throughout the season, I would come here and I would snip what I needed for medicine or for cooking. And I always would snip between, let me spread this leaves and show you. So see the stem right here? So here's a stem. See the stem's going, but right here you see a branching out of new leaves. So I would come and I would snip right there, right above those leaves, allowing more and more bushiness to take place. I do not cut the woody part as much because I want my bush to continue to be nice and big. I would only trim the soft branches, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I have beautiful bush here and I want to preserve it for the winter months for culinary purposes and for medicinal purposes. And let me tell you, there are many, and I'm gonna do a separate video about that because it's a friend, it's an ally, really. Sage is a wonderful plant to have, not just for your turkey and stuffing, okay? All right, so let me start trimming it. And I wanted to make it smaller because I believe that if I make it smaller, it will be easier for me to protect it from the cold. So I'm just removing the dead leaves that I don't need. Like there's some dead leaves here, I don't need them. I'm gonna remove them. And then I'm going to trim, down to have my beautiful sage. And I trimmed it right above, can you guys see that? Right above the 2 new growths, okay? And that's what I'm gonna keep doing it. And I can trim it here again, right before the growths again. So anytime there's 2 branches coming out, I'm gonna cut the branch right above that. So like if this is the main branch right here, these 2, and these 2 leaves are coming out, I'm gonna be cutting it right here, okay? So I'm gonna just trim it up a lot because I want this beautiful sage, not just for Thanksgiving that's coming up, but also to replace my apothecary supply of sage. All right. And then let me show you the things I'm going to be using to winterize this thing to survive over the winter. So from this gigantic bush, I am down to much smaller section. I'm gonna cut back a little bit more here. And I'm going to now inspect and remove any dead branches. Like for example, this one is completely dry and I'm gonna cut that out because we don't want to overwinterize any diseased or dead branches. Okay, so I'm gonna just clean up and remove anything dead from it. All right, so here it is. Honestly, there's more I can harvest. There's a whole lot more, but I'm gonna leave them on a bush, and the plant will go dormant. It's not gonna continue growing over the winter, but my job, my purpose here is just to simply protect it so it survives the cold and comes back to life in the spring again. So what am I gonna do? Obviously it's planted in the soil, it's not in a pot. And I can dig it up because it's a single bush. I can dig it up and put it in a pot and bring it in the greenhouse. But like I said, I want to try to overwinterize right here in my herbal garden. Okay, so what I'm gonna be doing is that besides protecting it from the top, and the top, I'm going to be covering everything with a very large, old, broken basket. Or if it fits, you can use a like a 5-gallon bucket or a potting pot, something like that. So everything is covered, and it's not going to protect it from the top. The whole idea of overwinterizing plants is that the heat, warmth or protection is going to be to the root from the soil. So therefore, even though I will be covering it on the top, the protection is not going to be from the top. The protection will be from the bottom. So let me show you my method of overwinterizing it by protecting it from the bottom and covering on the top. And this is what we're going to be using. We're going to be using some wood shavings, the regular wood shavings that we use for our animal housing, some dried leaves collected on my lawn, some burlap bags, and that's how we're going to be protecting it around the plant and inside the plant. Okay, because we're trying to preserve the heat that may be stored in the soil at the root system. All right, so that's what we're going to be working on. So let me start pouring it around inside these branches and on the bottom of this plant around the root. Mulch, fresh mulch will also work. Okay, I think that will work as well. But I'm going to be using some of these wood shavings, just packing them underneath, packing them under the branches, just like this. So I'm going to be creating some protection insulation from the bottom, couple of inches of the wood shavings, and the rest is going to be just leaves. So when other people blow their vegetable beds and their flower beds and herbal beds off of all of the leaves, I do the opposite. I bring the leaves in to insulate my plants over the winter. All right. Okay, so now I have leaves, some mulch, wood shavings around, and now I'm going to be putting burlap bags. Burlap bags literally around them. Okay, just like this. So burlap bag is around as well. And then remember this basket I was showing you? It's nice and wide enough to fit my entire plant in it. Everything goes inside. Okay, I'm gonna put a rock on top to make sure that it doesn't get blown away on the wind. I also have another couple of pieces of burlap, and I'm just gonna throw them over for a little extra protection. Now, burlap bags are breathable. They're not like plastic, okay? So this is what I'm doing. And now let me put some rock on top. Okay, so this is what it looks like. This is the final product. I know it doesn't look like much, but I pray that this method will keep my sage safe over the winter. And again, the top cover really is not going to keep her warm. What's going to keep this plant warm is from the ground, okay? So that's why we have a few inches of wood shavings, then I topped off with a few inches of dried leaves, and then I put more burlap bags around, put a basket on top, more burlap bags on top, and just the rocks so nothing flies away. So I hope this works. Okay, friends, so my sage is bundled up for the winter months, and I pray that it works. I hope you can share your methods as well. But remember, each growing zone has to apply different tricks and different principles to protect their vegetables and their herbs over the winter. So please share your method in the comment box. But remember to just list what growing zone you are so it can help other subscribers when they're reading. And please share your methods. Let's learn together. Let's be a community that shares and learns from each other. On this note, friends, I hope you are encouraged and try something new.